Hello, welcome to Chat UTD. So we've all but got a here we go on Scott McTominay to Napoli for 25 million, and I think it's a move that suits him, that suits United, that suits Napoli. So unusual for a move to suit all parties involved. Um, the right time for him to go. We need the money. If I look at my perspective on McTominay over the years, I think when he came through the youth system, looked a really promising player. He's evolved over the years in terms of his position. He was always a holding midfield player, quite a destructive holding midfield player with the ability to do box to box if necessary. Mourinho even used him as an emergency centre back a couple of times. I think his stock fell and the McFred thing didn't help. He and Fred trying to run the midfield for United was never going to work, and they both got exposed. I think individually both have quite a lot of qualities, but those qualities don't complement each other in terms of playing as a partnership, and it left them both vulnerable to some pretty serious criticism and some of it unfair because, as I say, individually I think they're both pretty decent players, but to try and run the midfield together at United it was never going to work. And then last season he was really an impact sub who was a real kind of like getting in the box late and using his physicality. And I think if Napoli have players that can get the ball in the box, if they've got wingers who'll cross it, if they'll let him off the ball, have free roam just to basically go and make a nuisance of himself with his strong physicality that he's got, and then on the ball when they've got it, give him that freedom to get in the box and cause problems in that respect. I think he could be a really good player for them. I'm glad he's gone abroad and not stayed in England. He's a Red. He's been brought up at United. He's played for his boyhood club for 6-7 years, whatever it's been, in the first team, and lived the dream and never let the team down. So yeah, good luck to him, and I hope he does well over in Italy. At the risk of sounding really agendered, I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about the synchronicity between him and Rashford, in that McTominay came in about 18 months, 2 years after Rashford, and probably around the 18 to 19 sort of time season when Solskjaer was there, you'd say they were the future of the club, the pair of them in their respective positions. You'd have never thought anytime soon either of them would have been surplus to requirements, but both of their stars have fallen in the last few years. The difference has been that McTominay has been subject to the normal vulnerabilities of a football player, which is if you're not playing very well, you don't play. Your limitations become clear, your flaws become clear. The less time you spend in the team, the more highlighted your flaws are when you do play, and then rightly, in the end, you get moved on. The difference with Rashford is exactly the same thing has happened in terms of how far he's fallen. I'd argue he's fallen further than McTominay, but he has been given a status that he doesn't deserve, which is that he's protected, he's untouchable, indispensable, undroppable, and the club have gone about creating a narrative around this player and giving him a status that he doesn't deserve. For me, I know they play in completely different positions, but McTominay in his position is better than Rashford in his position, and yet we're letting McTominay go for £25 million, and we're not entertaining offers for Rashford. And I think my understanding is that they wouldn't entertain offers less than 80, £90 million for him. So you've got to ask again, why is that? That's my beef, is that they're of the equivalent of each other, and yet one is treated completely differently to the other. It's grossly unfair. As I said yesterday, if Rashford was 120 grand a week squad player like McTominay was, there'd be no problem with it. But he isn't. So again, I think it needs to be called out. It's right that McTominay needs to go, but I believe Rashford needs to go as well. We've got 5 days to go in the transfer window, and Sancho's still there, which is a huge concern for me. We've got a player who doesn't want to be at the club, is on astronomical wages, who is not trusted or liked by the manager, who I think potentially could have quite a toxic influence on others around him. 2 seasons ago, he was probably out of the team more than he was in the team because of supposed mental health problems. Last year, because of a dispute with the manager, he he was out of the team for most of the season, and if he stays, it'll be the same again this year. So pretty much 3 years of paying someone 250 to 300 grand a week to do nothing, all the while, to my mind, massively disrespecting United in the process. As a fan, I don't want to ever see him play for United again, and I don't think he's the type of person that would do it as a marriage of convenience. Where he plays well because it's going to get him a move somewhere else. I don't even think he's got the gumption to do that. So he's got to be one of the worst transfers United have ever made, and it's a complete mess, and they need to get rid of him. And to be honest, I'd probably just cut our losses and take what we can get for him, whatever that's going to be. I don't think we can be precious about asking for 40, 50 million quid. I'd just take whatever's on the table for him. There's going to be some silly season stuff in the next few days, some pretty spectacular stuff, I'm sure. But this talk of Raheem Sterling coming and Sancho going the other way, or Ben Chilwell coming and Sancho going the other way, or both and Sancho going the other way. Sterling is 30 years old. His best years are behind him. He's played for Man City and Liverpool. If that's petty, it's petty, but it makes a difference to me. He grew up apparently as a United fan, but is he a player that we would, at the start of the transfer window, say we wanted? Absolutely no chance. I don't think he's a bad player, Sterling at all. I think, he's based on his England performances when he was at his best for England. He was quite a selfless player. He did a lot of work for others around him, and he gets close to the striker. He's quite quick. Had a couple of really productive seasons at City 3 or 4 years ago, but those days are behind him. I just don't think it's somewhere we should go. Chilwell, the only criteria he fits is that he's a left back. Other than that, no. And again, quite injury prone, just like Shaw and obviously Malacia. So he's not somewhere I'd go at all. But we do desperately need to get rid of Sancho. So if that was the only deal that was on the table, I'd be probably tempted to take it. But we don't need to be getting swap deals. Just get some money for him, hopefully, and get him off the books. If you gave me, a free rein to say, right, what's going to happen in the next 5 days, and I'll try and stay semi-realistic. Some of it isn't, some of it is. My wish list would be, out of the door would be Rashford, Sancho, Casemiro and Maguire. I choose Maguire over Lindelof because I think we'd get more money for him. I think Lindelof plays better with Martinez, and I think Lindelof would be more prepared to just be a squad player. So there's no massive beef with Maguire. That's my reasoning behind that. And then coming in, I would want another midfield player as well as Ugarte, because I think that midfield needs beefing up a bit, and we need more options in there. We're over relying on Mainu, and he's too young. And I'd want a left back, and then obviously if we'd got rid of Sancho and Rashford, we'd need a winger as well. So those would be my preferences. I've got questions as to why we got Xerxes and not a more established striker. But now we have Xerxes. Now we've got Xerxes, and Højlund. We don't need to be going in for a striker as well, because that would mean we have 3 and we only play 1 up top, if any, up top. So that would be my wish list. What's gonna happen? I think we will get Ugarte. I suspect that'll be it, and I think I'm counting on McTominay going, so McTominay will go. I'm not sure if anyone else will, but Sancho's a big problem, so he needs to go. We will see, won't we? Just putting my England hat on for a few moments. Just heard the news that Sven-Göran Eriksson has passed away. I'm not just saying this because he passed away. I liked him as England manager. He came in at a time when Kevin Keegan had been the manager, and it was a bit of a mess. And he brought a lot of structure and direction, and he brought through a lot of young players, and he made England play like a team again very, very quickly. And he gave belief to the fans that we could do something, so much so that we went from Euro 2000 being a bit of a joke, really, to World Cup 2002 being a fluke goal from Ronaldinho away from potentially getting in the semi-final and really competing in that tournament. And 2004, the Euros, some of England's best performances at a tournament. Rooney got injured. That obviously scuppered us a little bit, but we played some great football there. 2006 was poor. and it probably reached its natural conclusion at that point. And you could argue he didn't get the best out of some of the talent they had around. But I think there's a lot of pressure coming in as the first foreign English manager, and he always handled himself very well. I think clearly a bit of a character. Erika Johnson springs to mind. Fair play to him. But it struck me as a nice fella, and always handled himself very well. And the players speak incredibly fondly of him. So in the modern era, I know he was poorly and he had cancer, and it was always coming, but he wasn't old, like old kind of thing. So sad, and the usual best wishes to his family and friends and all that type of stuff. And a sad day, because a good guy, and I've got happy memories of watching England when he was the manager. Glazers out.